Fortnite has a lot of different weapons. Some of them people love and some of them people hate. So today I've put together a list of the 8 most loved weapons and the 8 most hated. And we're going to start with hated weapon number 1, the crossbow. This was added early in chapter 1, and people were pretty excited for an alternate way to kind of snipe people, but it was terrible. It was part of a Valentine's Day update, and the blue and purple one only did 75 and 79 damage, but that wasn't even the worst part. Hitting a shot with this crossbow was nearly impossible. It had a different bullet travel compared to the sniper rifle, so nobody was used to it, and it only did 1 structure damage, meaning you could not break any builds using this crossbow. You also had to pull the bow back every single time you shot, which was awkward and made it very, very slow and clunky. As a result, people barely picked this up, and it was pretty much a meme weapon. But in chapter 1, we had a very loved weapon that we haven't seen in a very long time. Loved weapon number 1 is the guided missile launcher. The amount of clips and moments this one weapon created back in chapter 1 was insane. It was extremely unique. You got to control a rocket that shot out of the guided missile launcher, leaving your character behind, but then you could track and find your opponents, sending the rocket straight into them. It was kind of powerful because back then people didn't really know how to build, so it was easy to land the rocket on them every single time. But that's not where the weapon really shined, because you could actually use this guided rocket and rocket ride your teammates or even yourself. Yes, that's right. You could rocket ride your teammates or yourself with the guided missile launcher, creating some insane moments and awesome clips. The rocket itself also did 100 damage, so getting hit with this thing was pretty serious. But now we go on to hated weapon number 2. And even though Nick A30 loves this weapon, I gotta put some hate on the lever action shotgun. The thing about this weapon is it replaced the pump. So when you remove the pump shotgun and replace it with a weapon that is as weak as the lever action, people are going to hate it just a little bit extra. The damage drop off on this gun is insane. It's only ever useful in super close quarter, and honestly, it doesn't do that much damage. Sure, it shoots pretty fast, but when this was added to the game, there was no zero build, so all the fights were like box fights and build fights, and the fact that it shot faster didn't really help it too much. It doesn't really have an identity. You know, the pump shoots hard but slow, and the tac shoots fast but has medium damage. This thing has medium damage and it's slower than the tac, so I don't know what's going on here. But let's talk about loved weapon number 2, a shotgun that did it well, the purple tac, an OG classic weapon. This thing did an insane amount of damage, and if you weren't good with landing your pump shots, you were going to go for the tactical shotgun. I remember back in chapter 1, you were either a pump shotgun player or a tactical shotgun player. Like, people actually chose which one they preferred, and the tactical shotgun could keep up with the pump in terms of damage. Sure, you didn't have the 1 pump capabilities, but it did a lot of damage, and it was something that you could pick up over the pump, and you wouldn't be wrong for doing that. But now we got to talk about hated weapon number 3. This one's actually recent, the Typhoon Blade. I'm not gonna lie, the animations on this thing, the movement, it's all very cool, very anime-esque, and initially I was like, yeah, this is a cool weapon. But once people start swinging at you with the Typhoon Blade and they're really close to you, their character is jumping all over the place, making it impossible for you to hit a shot. There were so many deaths that happened where I have somebody one shot, they pull out the Typhoon Blade, start spamming it, and I just can't land a shot. And I'm sure that has happened to you guys. I will say, a good example of how a melee weapon should look like when they are attacking you is the new baseball bat in chapter 6 season 2, because the animation is not over the top, and I think they learned a valuable lesson with the animation of the Typhoon Blade, because people were really hating on this thing, especially towards the end of chapter 6 season 1. And now for loved weapon number 3, the Mythic Havoc shotgun. Now, people sometimes complain when a weapon is too overpowered. This was one instance where a very overpowered weapon was actually loved. The ability to hit 250 headshot damage kind of reminded us of the OG chapter 1 pumps that used to also hit for 250 headshot damage. So we kind of felt like it was the OG pump, but reskinned in a new way. It was the first shotgun that could also one pump players who were in zero build, because of course in zero build you have the 50 overshield, and that's what made it very, very powerful, because even if you missed the headshot and you just hit them in the body, you were hitting them for like 116 damage, which is a little ridiculous, but that didn't stop people from loving it. The next hated weapon is a no-brainer. Hated weapon number 4 is the Charge SMG. The whole point of an SMG is it's supposed to be quick. You're supposed to be able to shoot people fast, reload fast. This thing required you to charge the gun before using it, making it the worst SMG Fortnite Fortnite ever added, let alone maybe the worst weapon Fortnite ever added, period. It took forever to charge up, and once you started shooting the charged up bullets, there was so much recoil, it was very hard to even land the shots that you charged up. It just looked absolutely silly if you shot somebody with a pump shotgun and then pulled out the charged SMG, and then you had to wait half a second to a second so you can charge up some of the bullets to shoot. It also only did 17 damage. This thing was not a damage dealing gun. But a gun that did do a decent amount of damage was loved weapon number 4, the Stark Industries rifle. This thing was amazing for getting surge, for tagging people across the map. It was super accurate, and it was one of our first weapons that had like 2 different modes. If you aim down sight, you were going to shoot slow, hard hitting shots. If you hip fired with it, it was going to shoot a lot faster, making it kind of like a AR SMG combo. It was the best assault rifle during Chapter 2, Season 4, and it was very similar to the infantry rifle, which a lot of people really liked. Now, next up is hated weapon number 5. Again, a very useless weapon that let us all down. The kinetic boomerang. You see, we had the kinetic hammer, which was insane. We had the kinetic blade, a good successor to the hammer. We were expecting something crazy with the boomerang. Maybe the ability to teleport to where the boomerang was thrown, maybe the ability to pull people towards you, maybe a ton of damage. This thing had none of that. You threw the boomerang, it tracks players, did only 60 damage. Of throwing it was clunky, it took too long. 99% of the time, this thing was not practical to use. And I'm sure it's a weapon that has the least amount of total eliminations all time on Fortnite. Just right next to the charged SMG, but probably even less. But a weapon I know has a lot of kills, this loved weapon number 5. The Gold Scar, an absolute classic. This thing was a beast when they first added it, with the 97 headshot damage, of course. Now, the thing is, they almost kind of ruined the legacy of the Scar, because you remember back in Chapter 3, they brought the Scar back and it dropped in green and blue rarity, and even in purple and legendary, but something was off. This wasn't the same gun that we had back in Chapter 1. The stats were different, the accuracy was different, and the blue and green Scar just wasn't hitting. So people started saying that the Scar was actually washed, and the hammer assault rifle was much better and made the Scar look useless. But with the return of Fortnite OG, we were proven wrong. The Scar is still one of the best assault rifles in Fortnite. It still does a ton of damage, especially with the old headshot multiplier, which is where the Scar thrives and what we have in current Fortnite OG. It's also one of the most iconic weapons of all of Fortnite, and people even outside of Fortnite know about this weapon. And now for hated weapon number 6, and I know some of you controller players and console players might not agree with this one. I don't care. Every DMR. I couldn't pick one. Every DMR. These things were bad. I would rather have a sniper or any assault rifle than a DMR. Sure, if you hit a couple headshots with this thing, it was going to do some damage. And yeah, maybe the one from Chapter 5, which you could put a bunch of attachments on, was somewhat useful because of the attachments. But at the end of the day, like, what are we doing here? This thing is not a sniper or an assault rifle. It doesn't do the job of either one. It is just mediocre and average. I've only ever seen console players hit a decent amount of shots with this thing, because I guess the aim assist on it is very strong, but that's it. I hate when they're in the loot pool, and yeah, I'm the DMR's #1 hater. But now we gotta talk about a weapon that mouse and keyboard players love and controller and console players love: the Mammoth Pistol. Loved weapon number 6. This is an instant classic. People loved it as soon as it was added. It literally saved an entire season of Fortnite. That's right, Chapter 4 Season 3 was an absolute disaster, and this one weapon managed to save it. Insane damage, very accurate, fun to use. They added it to reload and people were going feral for it. Now we have a mythic version of it, and it goes crazy too. Everyone loves this gun. And of course, they brought it back to Battle Royale for a reason, because we all love it. And now for another disappointment. Hated weapon number 7. The Paper Bomb Kunai. You know, you think about the mythic items that Fortnite added for Dragon Ball Z with the Cloud and the Kamehameha, and you think about the Gojo collab, you think about the Jujutsu Kaisen and the My Hero Academia. All those mythics were so powerful, so OP. And then you have a anime like Naruto, which has some of the most iconic attacks in all of anime. The Rasengan, the Chidori, the Shadow Clone Jutsu. And you give us the Paper Bomb Kunai, but you make it so bad. 35 damage, 35 explosive damage. This thing was so bad. It was slow. Nobody got a kill with it. And it was a disgrace to one of the best animes ever. I'm sorry, man. They got to do Naruto right, bro. They got to bring back some Naruto skins, bring us some new Naruto skins. We want Madara. Bring in some new skins and give us a mythic Naruto weapon that we can all be happy with. Now, they don't always fumble the collabs, because loved weapon number 7, One of the most loved collab items in Fortnite is the Spider-Man web shooters. Now, I know this isn't really a weapon, but I had to include it because like this thing was perfect. You were swinging around as Spider-Man, better than actual Spider-Man games. You felt like you were playing a completely different game. Fortnite really showed us that they were different. It had 80 charges, so you could use it the entire match. And it was actually balanced. Like, sure, swinging as Spider-Man was a little powerful, but if you got shot while you were swinging, you would fall and take fall damage. So they actually managed to make a very, very unique item, very powerful, but also very balanced. And now for the final hated weapon number 8, all the makeshift weapons. That's right. All the makeshift weapons were bad. Chapter 2, Season 6, Primal. The makeshift weapons obviously weren't meant to be used because you had to find parts and upgrade them, but having to fight in the early game with a makeshift submachine gun or a makeshift rifle, or God forbid, like the makeshift pistol, this was horrible. Nobody wanted that. Worse weapons, worse stats, inaccurate, no first-person accuracy. The only thing they were good for is doing a challenge video where you try to win with only the makeshift weapons. Besides that, thumbs down from me. But now for loved weapon number 8. This is probably one of the most overpowered items ever added to Fortnite, but we still loved it regardless of how overpowered it was, because you know what? It was supposed to be overpowered. Loved weapon number 8 is the Infinity Gauntlet. This was iconic. We got to turn into Thanos and drop a 30 bomb on the defaults. This happened early in Chapter 1. Marvel and Fortnite collab happened so early, we knew Fortnite was a different kind of game. We knew it was going to be something special. 200 shield, 500 health. You get to fly around and jump as Thanos. You would regen your health on kills, making you a walking boss. This is back when everybody sucked. So when you turned to Thanos, you were getting 10, 15, 20, 30 kills very easily. One of the most fun I've ever had playing a video game. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree with this list. But even if you agree or disagree, make sure you like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.